everyone, it's Jan from Jannplansthings, and this week we've got a little bit of a different video because I have bunged my hand. It's like a strain injury basically from apparently too much drawing. My job, I guess, is an architect, so it's a little bit that way. But I like to think there's always a silver lining to every cloud. So besides the fact that I do get a forced break, which is always lovely, I am going to do something that you guys have requested for a while now, which is basically a little tour of my bag and my staples of everything that I like to use. So let's get right into it. I'm going to first show you guys what's in my backpack. My backpack is currently from Gaston Luga. They actually sent me this to review, and I've really enjoyed using it for the past couple of weeks. It's just like a really nicely vegan bag, and inside, but the things that I carry with me every day, my umbrella because it rains a lot, wallet, and in this, I'm just going to pull out all of these because this is basically my bujo supplies that I bring with me day to day, as well as my go-to art supplies, that because I sometimes have to paint at work as well. And there. So I'm going to quickly go through how I've been using everything. So a lot of things that don't matter right now. I just wanted to show you guys this because I thought it was kind of adorable. It's my emergency battery pack that I got in Korea in my Korea haul video, if you guys watched that in the past. So currently I actually carry with me 2 notebooks, mainly because this one's a little bit smaller than this one, and when I'm going into meetings sometimes it's a little bit easier to have something just a little bit more accessible, so I use this. And the other thing is that all the spreads are kind of already done. I don't really mind also if it's super messy, because I can kind of just dump notes into it, and then afterwards I consolidate into my bullet journal. So my bullet journal, the one I'm using at the moment, is the LT, and it's got a couple of, you've seen a couple of these spreads. I wasn't able to use this at all this week because of my hand, and apparently when you hurt your hand you start kind of writing like a 5-year-old, but this is my current bullet journal. In the past you guys might have seen me use my other one, which is the Archer and Olive notebook, and I'm just going to show you. You can kind of see the difference. So the Archer and Olive notebook is super duper white with thicker pages, and then the LT notebook, which is a little bit creamier, a lot creamier actually, and it really depends on the type of what you want to use it for. I'm actually quite torn about which of these notebooks I like more, because it's really dependent on what I'm using them for at any one time. And so currently I'm liking the LT mainly because it's just a little bit softer on the eyes. I find this actually quite stark white, but this is fantastic if you want to paint because it's very thick paper and less likely to bleed. So for example, bleed and ghost. Like for example, on the back of this spread you can barely see anything, whereas on this you can kind of see like the ghosting from the previous week's spread. So that's just something that you take into consideration. My cover that I use at the moment is from Choose To Do. I think it's like a faux leather cover. I just like it because it's like super blingy. I actually don't use these at all at the moment, but for those who have noticed, I do love the sparkles. Got a little bit of eraser dust in here, but so that's basically, I actually don't use this very often either, but I've actually removed the elastic ribbon that comes with this, and that's just so that I can slide it in a little bit easier. So that's my current cover. And then I'm going to show you guys what's in my pencil case. This pencil case I got from Notebook Therapy. I think it's kind of cute. So that it's got a little slot here. Just going to adjust this a little bit. And this basically has like a quick access. And here I have the items that I use the most every day. So that's just why they're in this little pouch here, just to make it a little bit faster to grab. And those are my favorite everyday items, which is my Sakura Micron in 01, which I basically use to do writing with. The Rotring, this is 0.1, it's super duper thin. This is basically when I'm doing like really small architectural details. I use this. This Tombow Fudenosuke hard tip pen, which you've seen me use almost every single week. This is what I use to do all of my lettering. I find I really like it because the tip is a little bit stiffer than the Tombow dual tip brush pen, which makes it a little bit easier to control to get the variation between the lines. And then this is my favorite pencil. I've been using this one for a while as well. This is the Uni Kura Toga pencil. Basically the way it works, hand doesn't work that side, is this is just like this. So as you press on the tip, you can kind of see this little orange thing moving around. And that's because as you press, it slowly rotates the barrel, meaning that you get a more consistent line all the way through, so you don't get like a slant edge on your pacer, which is actually super handy, especially when you're doing a lot of technical drawings. So that's my favorite. I also have one fountain pen. This is the Ninja Black fountain pen, my favorite. This is by Staedler. It's a 1911, and the reason why I do like fountain pens a little bit is a little bit softer on your hands if you're writing a lot during the day. Mainly because to use a fountain pen properly, you just touch it to the paper, you don't actually put pressure on it, so it's a little bit gentler on your hands after a while. Now, if you've got my clips, I always have clips with me just in case, because when you're painting a lot, you want to clip your pages down, so it's always handy to have those around if you need them. Afterwards, let's tip this out. So, some duplicates of what we've got. Obviously, Apple Pencil, because I use the iPad to sketch quite a bit at work. And then my Microns again. So my Microns I have in a variety of thicknesses. Mainly, so 0.1 I always have a spare because I use it so often. A 0.3, which is like the midpoint, 0.5, and this one is a 0.8, super duper fat just in case. So those are my Microns. I also have a 005 for really, really thin details. That's when I'm not using the Rotring. The Rotring I find even thinner than this one. This might be like a 001 in comparison. A spare Fudenosuke, just in case. Can't go without it. My erasers. This is all erasers. This one's one of my favorites. It's a Tombow 0. It's good for doing little details. I also use it to remove any masking fluid that you see me use. That tends to be in a lot of my my videos as well, this one. And then the refill for this, just in case, always. And then the big eraser, which is my Mars plastic eraser. It's kind of like a staple of everyone's pencil case. I have my refill for my pencil, just in case. And then this is my Pentel pocket brush pen. I do love it. There's a pink version. Let me see if I can find. Here is the original version. This one's the limited edition one. It's a little bit more expensive, but I do like having just the fun color. The Pentel pocket brush pen actually has like a nylon tip, and the bristles are real bristles, so it's super duper sensitive. So you have to practice quite a bit to use it. So I've been slowly improving. You've probably seen great artists on Instagram such as Hey Carla use this one quite a bit. That's the Pentel pocket brush pen. This is some of my architectural pens. So I have a good old Pilot Fineliner. It's like the equivalent to a 0.4, and also an Artline 0.6. These guys are fat and used for doing like basically when I'm doing drawings at work. They are not water fast. The Microns are, so I can't watercolor on top of these. So you'd probably never see me use these in my bullet journal because of the fact that they bleed, but I do use them quite a bit for work. I have my Sakura Jelly Roll. It's kind of like my go-to white pen at the moment. It's my favorite. I have this in a few other thicknesses. The 0.8 I think is like a nice happy medium. It's also the most commonly available jelly roll. So when you use it, it goes on a little bit like pale white, and then it slowly brightens up as it dries. I've also got my Midori steel ruler. 2 reasons. First off is using a steel ruler is super handy if you make models a lot. So before I did this, I used to do a lot of model making. I still do. I did a few TV ad campaigns like miniature kitchens and things like that. And having a steel ruler is much better if you also have if you're using it to cut, because it doesn't damage the edge. So I have an NT cutter as well. This is my pink one that I got from Korea. Good for model making the run or just opening things. And then obviously my steel ruler. I've also got a handy little Rotring compass for when I draw for when I'm doing circles. I do like doing circular spreads, so it's handy having this around. And then I've got this, this is like I'm having trouble opening it because of my hands, but basically, this might not happen for me today because of my injured fingers. Anyway, this is my kind of like my travel scissors. I like having the sheath there because it protects the blade and I don't have to worry about it, and they fold out to do like simple cuts and everything. Because it doesn't have a thumb grip, I wouldn't be using this for a really long time, but I do like it just to have it on the go for emergencies. And then I've also got this, which is probably my favorite travel brush. It's like this, plus it looks very nice. This is by Silverbrush. This is the black velvet Voyage brush series, and this is a size 4 brush. So I take this with me just in case I ever want to paint on the go. My other painting tool tools on the go is this. This is my handmade brass palette. This is one of my most prized possessions actually. It takes months to have one of these palettes made for you. They are handmade. I think there's only a few craftsmen left in the world that make this type of old school brass palette, and the waiting list for them are months and months and months. This one is by the Classic Paint Works company, and they use like a white lacquer paint to coat the insides, and they make them to your specifications. Fair warning, it is expensive, but for something that you use every day, or for me, it's been absolutely worth it. So inside I have a collection of Daniel Smith paints, which is basically based on the Jane Blundell mixing set with a couple of extras that I've pre-mixed here, which is like the purpley colour that you see me using for galaxies, as well as a pre-mixed grey made from ultramarine and burnt sienna, so that's pre-mixed there, and moon globe as well, which is a lovely Daniel Smith colour. So those are in addition to the Jane Blundell ultimate mixing set. This is my current palette, but I have been working on updating it as I go. You have seen me use this palette sometimes, which is a ceramic palette by Dan Go. She does shoot the art on the front, and basically it looks like this. This one does not travel with me. This one I use only in only at home because it is ceramic, but I love it because it is so easy to maintain and clean. Inside this I have Mission Gold and Holbein colors, which is a little bit different to this one here. Now, I've also got, I'm in the process actually of moving my paints into this palette. This one's just a little bit smaller. This one's just a little bit small. So this palette is by the Little Brass Box company. I actually waited, I think, 14 months for this one to be made. It's also made of solid brass like this, but it's much more, about half the size. And the reason why I like it so much is for basically travel reasons. And it's currently folds out like this. Got 2 extra flaps. So the extra flaps just slide into here. And here. And I think that's just like absolutely fantastic, the size that you get from there. And I'm slowly deciding which colors that I want in this palette. I have the problem of too many paints. I don't know if it's a problem. It's a very, very first world problem. But the thing is, I do want to make sure I'm using the colors that I like the most in there. And, sorry, put it this way. And so that I'm having a little bit of a hard time deciding which paints I should use, because each of these palettes are very, very special to me, and I do find that I get quite lazy once I fill up a palette. I don't really refill it again with different paints. So I'm currently keeping this in my little like coin pouch that I got from, Bunbogu. I think this is a Midori cat pouch. Now you guys probably understand why I use it, and it kind of works very nicely. And I've got a little cat charm on that as well. So that I am in the process of changing those over just to something a little bit more small and convenient, even though this is actually like a fantastic size already. Now, a couple of my other favourite items that you've seen me use quite a bit is this. This is my Brilliant Gold Gouache. I'm going to show you all my metallics all at once. My Finetech palette and my Peppercorn Arts. I've actually ordered a proper palette of this one because I love it so much. They kind of liquefy into like a molten metal. And then there's this one. This is the Finetech one. You can see I basically just use this one color over and over and over again. These are pretty great. They can remove from the palette as well. They kind of click in. And what you do with this is I would pre-spray it just so that the water has time to settle into the pan, and that just makes it easier to lift the colors, because otherwise it's a little bit stubborn to mix. If you just buff it a lot with your brush, you can slowly lift the pigments. The pigments are very, very fine, so they kind of like clump together. In comparison to this, which I've been using quite a lot recently, which is the Holbein Brilliant Gold Gouache, this actually has a lot of larger gold flakes suspended in it, which makes it look a little bit more like little flakes of gold leaf. So I kind of like this one because it also just looks fantastic when you suspend it in water. So this one I would recommend more if you were mixing it with other watercolor paints. So those are my paints, and then my favorite paintbrushes. Probably not this one. This is a Winsor Newton Series 7. It's my only square block one. I rarely use it, but when I do, it's basically to get that really sharp line on the edge, so I use a square brush for that. These three you probably see me use all the time. This is a synthetic brush. This by Princeton. It's the Glacier series. I mean, this series is probably not made in particular for watercolor, but look, I'm not gonna lie. I basically picked it because I liked this. I like the handle, like the little cut off the top and the clear handle. I thought it looked really cool. That's why I bought it. And in the end, I'm actually really, really liking it. They are so much cheaper compared to like proper hair brushes like these two, which are the Kolinsky brushes. And a lot of you have asked if you have like animal cruelty-free ones. So this one is synthetic, probably. This one is an Isabe Special. This is a Kolinsky brush, so it's a an animal hair brush. I do love Kolinsky brushes, mainly because of the snap. I'm going to try and wet this a little bit. And you can kind of see that snap to it. It keeps the point, and it holds a lot of water, so it makes it much, much easier to paint. I use a 4. This is kind of like my average size brush. You have to realize that every brand has a different size, so that's a 4 in the Isabe. This is a 4 in the silver brush. You can kind of see they're actually quite different in size. So you just be aware that they're kind of different brand to brand. And then I've got this one, which is the one I use for my my details, and this is a 00 in the Nevskaya Palitra. White Knights, basically. They make the White Knights paints, and it's lovely and very fine, and also Kolinsky Sable, and also super cheap. This was like a $4 brush. This one was a lot more expensive, like almost $30 I think, and this one I think was also around $4. So those are my favorite. Sitting on a Galen leather brush holder. I would never I would try to avoid, I would say never, try to avoid bringing these with me when I travel, mainly because it's hard to do it and you have to have the plastic cover on if you don't want it to be damaged, but I just prefer using something like this instead when I travel because at least I know it's safe. Also with these, they have a little hole at the top so that it can air and then your brushes don't get moldy, whereas these I prefer to use at home. Now, a couple of other staples that you see me use every now and again. This is my Daler-Rowney masking fluid. I use the masking fluid to basically cover up a little area first before I do a wash over it, and then I can peel it off and then the paper stays the original color underneath. So this is my favorite masking fluid at the moment, mainly because it's just so easy to peel. You can see it's kind of pink at the top, mainly because I accidentally mixed some, I had a slightly pink brush go in there at one point. I do have a couple of other favorite like watercolors and everything like that, which is like here are some like green leaf sets. This one here is my, oh, a little bit of trouble, stickiness. This one here is my set from Peppercorn Art, which is like, I just love handmade watercolors. So that's that one. So you sometimes see this featured on my my journal pages. But my project at the moment is to get these guys all swatched into here so that I can pick all which colors I want in each of my palettes. It's taken me a while because I calculate I have like 360 colors from different brands, but I think it is important just to check it because each brand's color looks a little bit different. So if you can see, these are both ultramarines, both using PB29 as the pigment. This one is from Daniel Smith, this one is from Holbein, and you can see how it travels on the page. It's very, very different. It's different smoothness and everything. And then you've got Humphrey stepping on everything while I swatch them. So once I have finished swatching all of my colors, I will do another video and then tell you which colors I've decided to go with for my palettes. Anyway, I think that's a pretty good introduction to all the materials that I currently use, or all of my favorite materials. I hope you enjoyed that and you found it a little bit helpful. Doctor says rest for 2 to 3 weeks, so I did mention I was going to take a break, but it looks like a forced one is happening anyway. So I will try to do slightly different videos and just a little bit of a few little reviews and things in the meantime, seeing that I can't really draw as much at the moment. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was useful, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys next time. Bye!